So part of this lesson, why I want you all to copy the notes, is because I'm hopefully going to demystify this magical chart that you all seem to memorize from year to year. Remember from the exercise 1E and F, you guys learnt that double positive is the same thing as? What does it become? It equals? Not negative, becomes positive. So if the signs are the same, they say if you add a positive value, you get overall positive. And the logic to it, how I tried to explain last session, is this is the operation. It's what you're adding. Now, if you're adding, are you gaining or you're losing? Gain. So you're gaining. And then this tells you the direction. So it tells you you continue to get larger. So you're gaining larger amounts. So obviously, overall, it's larger. So it makes sense. Versus if I gave you adding a negative. So you're gaining a negative. Now, what's an example of that in real life? Gaining debt. So, for example, spending money. So if you spent $5, you gain clothing, but what did you also gain? A loss. So that debt, that negative, overall is the same thing as, are you getting larger or smaller? Smaller. That's why they say if you add a negative, you lose, right? So it becomes smaller. So this is just a quick revision of last session so that you can see why students confuse between 1E and F and what I'm about to teach today. And then what if I subtract a positive value? See, if you subtract a positive value, are you gaining or losing? Losing. So you're losing money. Okay, so we're going to lose money. But how much we're losing? We're losing a positive amount. That positive amount is what you have. That's a good thing. That's credit that you have. So if you had $3 in your pocket and I put a minus there and I say, all right, I'm going to subtract $3 that you have. What that does is, do you lose money or do you gain money? Lose, logically. So that's why they say if you subtract a positive value, you actually get smaller. And how do they represent that? They use a negative sign. So that's why minus sign. So that's why they say plus is plus because you're overall gaining. Plus a negative, which is like adding debt, overall losing. And then obviously, if you're losing positive credit, well, of course, overall you're losing money. Versus, the last one is the minus a negative value. Now, minusing a negative value. Remember, negative means debt. It's not money in your pocket. So losing, so what are you losing? You're losing debt. So if you're losing debt, you're losing money that you owe. What does that mean? You're gaining money because I'm essentially saying to you, you don't owe me money anymore because you're losing the debt that you had. If you owed me $3 and I came up to you and said, let's remove that debt, that's a good thing to you. It's not a bad thing. It's me saying, I'm going to take away your debt. I'm going to remove it from you. So now you have money. You know, instead of that $3 that you could have gave me, which you lose money, you now get to keep it. If you get to keep it, it's a good thing. It's a gain. So that's why we say it's positive. It's a gain. So that's the difference, and that's the understanding of the language and the mathematics, why we say it's positive, not positive, and not minus. It's a minusing a negative or subtracting a negative value. That's the logic. If you understand it to that point, you don't have to memorize that chart because it makes sense in reality. Most students don't. Most students will just memorize it. Okay, they'll say plus is plus, minus is minus. That's the fluency skill. And some students who practice enough will remember that. Those students who don't practice enough will then find it harder to remember, or if they have troubles with strategies to memorize, they may find it harder to recall. That's at the fluency stage. So this is what they expect in the state. In the state of Victoria, I mean all states in Australia, when they do the NAPLAN test, this is what they're looking for. Do kids know that fact? It's like your times tables. Yeah. So plus is plus, but whether you know how to use it, that's very different. Very small percentage of students know how to use it. So today, I'm going to explain that multiplication and division idea. And hopefully you have a better understanding than most students in the state and even in the school right now, and maybe even your siblings who may, if they're older than you, they'll likely have learnt how to do, but they don't know why. So let's take a look. I put a number line so you can visualize what's going to happen soon. So the way I want you to think of multiplication is the number at the front, the first one, you can think of it as number of jumps, okay? And when you say times, whatever you're multiplying to, that number tells you the size and direction. If you've watched Minions before, you know how there's that vector dude? They say vector means magnitude and direction. That's pretty much what it means. So magnitude is the size, direction is where. Okay, it's kind of like if you're walking, you can walk north, so that's direction. But how far north do you walk? You can take 2 steps, 3 steps, or run 1K. So there's a size to it and there's a direction to it. And that's what we mean by size and direction. Just tell us how many jumps you're going to do. Okay? All right. Quick reminder, fill in these notes. Remember from our previous lesson, exercise 1E, 1F, the word negative, the symbol negative actually means reverse or opposite. Okay? That's what these two mean. Hey, Awed's here. We'll have one ready for him. Welcome, Awed. That sheet's for you. And this is for you.
What's that?
That's your folder. Okay, so let's have a look. So I'm just holding it for you. Hey, Awed, thanks for coming. I'm currently recording and explaining, so I just need you to listen for a moment. Okay? Just listen for a moment. If you can't do that, I'm going to ask you to go outside, okay? As in go to the middle school. Did you want to go to middle school?
I need to get water.
No? Do you want to go to middle school? That's a question. Yes or no? Yes or no question. Okay. I'm just going to continue. If you can't continue, I will send you to middle school. All right, here we go. So let's go to theory. So theory of multiplication today. When you say 3 times 4, now I know in your times tables, if you memorized it, you would have known that the answer is 12, right? But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the meaning. See, when you say 3 times 4, back in primary school, they usually say it just means 3 groups of 4 or 3 lots of 4. And logically, what that just basically means is if I said 3 lots of 4, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one lot of people. That's one group of people, right? So I say, okay, here's one group of 4. So I've got one group of 4. Then I do another count. I do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I say, okay, now that's 8 people in total because it's 4 plus 4, so 2 groups of 4. And then when I say 3 groups of 4, I count another 4. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Suddenly, 4 plus 4 plus 4 is equal to 12. If we look at a number line, 3 times 4 means this. You started off at 0, and I'm saying I've got one group of 4. So you go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's a plus 4. That's one group of 4. Then you do the same thing again. You say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you do one more group because we said 3 groups of 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's 3 groups in total. That's what you're doing on the number line. You're saying add, so gaining. So remember number of jumps. How many jumps am I doing? This is saying I'm going to do 3 jumps. Okay? Now these 3 jumps I'm going to do, well, how many is each jump? So the size and direction. 4 jumps each time. So every jump you do, you have to do 4 of them. And you're going in the positive direction. See that? So if you think about what I've just done there, how many jumps did I have? I got 1, 2, 3, or 3 groups. 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. But each group has to have 4 jumps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's one group, so that's the size. And which direction am I going? Positive. So that's what it means when you say 3 times 4, it's 3 groups of 4 in the positive direction. Now, why I know it feels simple at the moment, but this will help you understand when we do negatives. Okay, so here we go. Let's look at the second example now. And this summarizes this sign where a lot of students then confuse with the first one. So can you see when I do positive times a positive, the answer was a positive 12. So you'd say positive times positive ends up being overall positive because you're in the positive direction. Let's have a look at the second one. 3 times negative 4, some students know it's negative 12 because they memorized, and so your siblings, if they're older than you and they've learnt this before, if you ask them, what is 3 times negative 4? In their minds, they might memorize this chart, and they say, oh yeah, it's a positive 3 times a negative 4. Positive times a negative gives you negative, and then they say 3 times 4 is 12, so therefore it's negative 12. That's how they'll remember it. But I don't want you to remember it that way. I want you to understand it. So here, what does 3 times negative 4 actually mean? Same thing. 3 jumps, or 3 groups of negative 4. And what that means is this. Instead of 3 groups of 4, so that's 4, 4, 4, I've got 3 groups. This now means I've got 1 group of negative 4, 2 groups of negative 4, and 3 groups of negative 4. So you might question, well, what does negative 4 mean? See, positive 4, if you think in terms of money, positive 4 is credit. You got $4 in your pocket, that's 1 group, plus another $4 in your pocket, that's 2 groups, then plus another $4 in your pocket, that's now $12 in total. So what does negative 4 mean? Negative 4 means it's money that you owe. So let's say you borrowed money from me $4 on a Monday. So, okay, and then on Tuesday you borrow another $4, and then on Wednesday you borrow another $4. That's 3 times, so 3 groups of $4 that you owe me. So 3 groups of 4 ends up, how much do you owe me in total? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you owe me a total of $12. That's what the negative represents. Negative just tells you the direction. Do you owe money or do you gain money? Do you have money or you lost money? That's what the negative and positive actually means. Does that make sense? Yeah? So if we look at the number line, what does 3 times negative 4 actually look like? Well, let's rub this one out. 3 times negative 4 means this. So from here, 0, losing 4. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 group. I've lost 4 once. Then you lose 4 again. So what are you losing? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you lose another 4. That's now 2 groups of negative 4. And then when you say, I have 3 groups of negative 4, this is what you're doing. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. I should have done, I realized it's 2 hops in between, isn't it? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 groups of negative 4. And then finally, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 3 groups of negative 4. That's why we say 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Okay? So 1 is you lose money 3 times, and 1 is you gain money 3 times. It's like, if you think of a scenario, it's like you earning money on a Monday $4, Tuesday $4, Wednesday $4. You earned money those days, so now you have $12. So it's $12 in your pocket. Versus if Monday you borrowed money from me, Tuesday you borrowed money from me, Wednesday you borrowed money from me, that you borrowed me 3 times. So I'd say you borrowed 3 times negative 4. So hence negative $12 you owe me. Does that make a bit more sense? Yeah? All right, so the part that students tend to then find difficult to understand. So the first 2 made sense. And the reason why is because the 4 and negative 4 you can relate to. Let's do now the third example. There's a lot of ways to sort of think about the logic to this, so I'm going to get you to understand the third one. I told you I was holding on to them for you so that you could use. But if you're not, I don't want you to give it out. If you're not going to use it right now, I'll hold it on to you for you. Okay?
You made my mom think I was getting in trouble.
I didn't. I asked a question. She hasn't responded.
You saw like an email and said that I was stealing people's pens.
I did not say that. You can read it too. I can send it to you if you want. You can read it.
Explaining it to her.
Okay. Did you want me to explain it to her verbally?
Yeah,
All right. I'll call her. I'll call her after school today, and I'll just clarify it to her. Okay. So I've already seen her in the past with your other siblings. Don't say that about your mom. And 2, We can talk about that another time. Right now I'm recording. I'm actually teaching. Okay, so just listen in, see what you get. All right, here we go. So negative 3 times 4. What does negative 3 times 4 mean? Now, remember, the negative, I said a way to sort of understand it as well, is that to understand the negative just means reverse or opposite. Okay? So think about like 4 steps to the right. If that's positive, then when I say negative 4, it just means go the other direction. So opposite of right is left. Opposite of up is down. Yeah, it's like your elevator. That's why there's sometimes it goes levels up and levels down. They say basement 1, basement 2, but they could easily have put a negative in front of them. It just means the opposite direction. So what this is actually saying, another way of reading it, is... All right, can I have those pens back, please? I'm trying to explain it. I'm trying to teach. You don't have to be here if you don't want to. Do you want to use those?
Good.
Is that the only ones? Cool. Cool. Thank you. All right. So this is exactly the same as saying opposite of 3 groups of 4. So whatever 3 groups of 4 is, okay, so we say that we're going to jump. We're going to have groups of 3s. But groups of 3, we're going to do the opposite of whatever that result is, because that's what it's saying. Opposite of whatever 3 groups of 4 actually is. So if you think about this, 3 groups of 4 just means, well, I know 1 group of 4, give me it. So this is positive $4. 3 groups of positive 4 would look like this. Right? So that's $12. But I'm saying opposite of that. So instead of you gaining money each time, I'm actually just telling you, I want you to get the opposite of that overall. So if you think about it, each time, instead of gaining 3 groups of $4, you're now getting 3 groups of the opposite of gaining it. Get me? Okay, so number of jumps. This represented number of jumps. When you say negative, it's getting the opposite of those number of jumps. Okay, so if you're jumping in the right direction, negative means I'm going to jump in the negative direction. Okay, so that's why you can kind of understand it as negative plus negative 4 plus negative 4 plus negative 4. It's like owing money, owing $4 3 times. Makes sense. It's $12. Or another way of visualizing it, if it helps you, you can think of it as a massive opposite sign. So that negative at the front just means opposite of whatever 3 times 4 is. So this means 3 times 4. So 3 times 4, you would have had $12, but I'm going to have opposite of that. So that now makes it owing $12. Does that make sense? So it's almost like, even a reality sense, would be me like saying, you've earned $4, you've earned $4, you've earned $4, okay? And then I say, I changed my mind. So that minus is like, I changed my mind. Sorry? No, not yet. Until I finish, it's only been literally 18 minutes, but you came in for like 5 minutes. Okay, so you gotta wait. Okay, I'm gonna teach. Like I said, I'm here to teach. I don't know what you're here for. Okay? No idea. Stop interrupting me and then we can go a bit shorter. All right, here we go. So here's a logical pattern. Let's say that didn't make sense to you. Here's another logical pattern if you notice it. So 3 groups of 4, you understood it was 4 plus 4 plus 4. And you said it's 12. When you say 2 groups of 4, it was 4 plus 4. And you said, I've got $8 overall. 1 group of 4 is you saying, well, yeah, I earned $4. So here we go. Overall, I've got positive $4. 0 groups of 4 means you didn't even work. So you can get a rate of $4 per hour or per day, but you didn't even work at all. So 0 times 4, so I've got 0, and that's 0. But if you look at the number line, have you realized you're dropping down? 12 take away 4 is 8. 8 take away 4 is 4. 4 take away 4 is 0. Have you realized you're just dropping by 4 every time you go? So the logic, if we go into -1, that means you didn't work for 1 day. So on the days that you don't work, you get no money. But then let's say on a Monday you're meant to work, you lost a day of working. So if you didn't work for 1 day, how much money do you lose? You lose $4, logically. So -4 once, instead of gaining $4 once, you lose $4 once. So naturally, it makes sense. You lose $4 for not working 1 day. If you then didn't work for 2 days, then it's not working on a Monday, not working on a Tuesday. You now have lost $8 in total. And then finally, the last one. Not working for 3 days means you lose $4, $4, and $4. Can you see all of it follows the same pattern? Each time, it's just a loss of 4. So again, what does 3 times -4 equal to? It does equal to -12, and that's why the sign, when they say negative times a positive, why they say it's a negative overall. Okay? So that's another way to sort of visualize it. If you didn't understand the scenario I was trying to explain, hopefully the earning money and losing money makes more sense to you. Okay? Sorry, you had your hand up for a while.
How do you lose money when you're not working?
Well, let's say you're meant to work on a Monday. Yeah. Yes, but if you didn't work on a Monday, so let's say you work 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They don't call you in for Thursday or Friday. Yeah? So if you don't come in on a Monday, that was a day that you could have earned money. You missed out on it. So how much money would you have lost in that week? $4 that you could have gained in that week for not going. Yeah? So there you go. So let's now try to understand the last bit. So the third one is the one that I think a lot of students first find a bit tricky to understand. So the last one, if you ask your siblings who are older, they should know negative times a negative will give you a positive. Now, if you ask them, well, why is that? Most students will not be able to answer you why that is true. Oh.
For the first part, could you, because I was checking my calculator, could you, like, for example, do 3 times 4 equals 12, right? Could you just make that into a negative number, and then that would be like a strategy to work it out?
Yes. Yeah. So yes. Another way, also with this one, it was the same thing as well. Instead of writing -3 times 4, you could have said 4 groups of -3, and that would have meant the same thing. So it means that you had 4 days where you were losing money 3 times. So that's another way of thinking about it. Because with multiplication, whether you do 2 times 3 or you do 3 times 2, it's the same. So why can't you write -3 times 4 versus 4 times -3? It's the same thing. And in this one, if you understood this explanation, then that's equivalent. It's okay too. So that's another way of doing it. Good one. Good idea. All right. Let's look at the last one though. So why is it that double negatives make a positive? There's a lot of ways to think about it. If you think a negative, the way I explained it before, if a negative means the opposite, essentially what you're saying is whatever 3 times 4 is, you're essentially saying 3 times 4, when you have a first negative, it means you're going to have opposite of that. I've changed my mind. But then if you have another negative again, that's like me saying, I've changed my mind again. So if I said, you get $4, you get $4, you get $4, that's $12 out of my pocket so far. The first time I put a negative on it means I've changed my mind. So now I've not lost the money, yeah? That which you lost the money. So you lose 4, you lose 4, you lose 4. But then if I said, put another negative, essentially I'm saying, I've changed my mind again. So now you gain 4, you gain 4, you gain 4. That's why it's positive. Okay, so in a way you can think of it that way. Or, I'm going to write here, so you can think of it as opposite of the opposite of 3 times 4. Okay, so 3 times 4 with a negative first, you'd say, all right, cool. I'll do the opposite of that, so you get -12. But because I have another negative opposite of that, so if you think about the whole entire thing, it now becomes -12, and that's why it becomes +12. Okay? So you can see, first one is I'm saying opposite of +12, opposite of $12, so 3 times 4, $12, opposite of that is -12. But then I'm saying opposite again, it becomes positive 12. Yeah? That's the mathematical written. But again, if you didn't understand that, let's have a look in this way. And you can probably see the pattern again. 3 times negative 4, you already knew the answer from our previous one was negative 12. Then 2 times negative 4 was 2 days that you didn't work. You lose, so 2 days that you didn't work, you get now $4. So 2 days that you lose money. So you lose money on this day and you lose money again. This one is you lose money, you lose money, you lose money. So overall you lose 12, you lose 8. This one you lose once. Okay, so that equals negative 4. And then finally, you don't work, or you don't, in this scenario, it's like 3 days you lose. So let's say gambling. 3 days that you gambled, each day you lost $4. 2 days of your gambling, you lose $4. 1 day of gambling, you lose $4. And the day that you don't go gambling, you don't lose any money at all. But then here, what does this negative 1 represent? Hopefully you can again see a pattern. Each one drops by 4. So naturally, this one should be now, if you can see, oh, it's not dropping, so it's adding. Adding by 4. You can see the pattern is that it's increasing to 4, then 8, then 12. Now, what's a scenario? So if this is you going to gambling and you're losing money, this is you removing the debt. So if you owed $4, there's one day where I'm like, forget about that debt. This one is me saying, remove 2 days of debt. This is me saying, remove 3 days of debt. If I remove your debt, so write this in if it helps you, this means remove or opposite. Okay, instead of you owing me money, so the opposite of 1 day of loss of money. So this is how much you would have got, but me putting a negative in front of it means opposite of that. I'm removing that. I'm removing your debt. But if I remove your debt, you get positive $4. This one would be, normally it's lose $4 on 1 day of gambling, lose another $4 on the second day of gambling. That would have been, you should have lost $8 in total. But the fact that I have another negative here, I'm essentially saying, let's remove that debt. Let's remove that $8 that you owe me. If I remove your debt, you now have $8 in your pocket that you can use. That's what that extra negative becomes. And that's one of the hardest ones to first figure out and explain, because you guys aren't really truly working with money yet. But if you try to think in terms of money when you go and spend, this makes a lot more sense. That's why we say negative times negative overall is going to be a positive. Okay? So the last one is probably the hardest one to get your head around. But again, you can do a numerical pattern. You can see the pattern there, both of which will then help you to visualize what's happening. Okay? All right, team, if that all didn't make sense, at the end of the day, you can still go to exercise 1G and memorize. If the signs are the same, it's positive. So if you guys like the same things, that's usually a good thing. If you guys don't like the same things, usually it's a bad thing. Yeah? So negative, positive is negative. That's the sign that they want you to learn, and that's what your siblings or everyone who's older than you will know, general population will know. The explanation was where I was trying to get to. Okay? Yeah.
What if you're dividing something by a negative or dividing a positive?
That's a very good. So because division's opposite of multiplication, then whatever you do for multiplication is the same application for division. So if you had $24 divided by negative 6, that's a positive number. This is a negative number. Then overall the answer is going to be a negative. So 24 divided by negative 6 will be negative 4. The logic to division, if you guys didn't know, multiplication is repeated addition. So when you said 3 times 4, that means 4 plus 4 plus 4, 3 times. When you say 24 divided by 6, a lot of students don't realize this, but we say how many 6 fits into 24. It actually means the opposite of that. See, if division is the inverse of multiplication, and multiplication is repeated addition, then this just means repeated subtraction. Think about it. If you did 24 and you minus 6 once, What's 24 minus 6 once? 18. Minus 6 again? Minus 6 again? Minus 6 again? You finally stop because you get to 0. So when you say, how many 6 fits into 24, can you see? It fits 4 times. Because that's what it is. It's repeated subtraction. But I wouldn't teach it that way at the start because it's a lot more confusing. But the idea is multiplication is repeated addition, division is the inverse, repeated subtraction. Okay, that's where the logic comes in. All right, team. So at the end of the day, if you didn't understand all the explanation I was saying, this is the chart that you need to memorize. Write that as part of your notes. Here's the most common mistakes that students make at a fluency level. Students confuse between this. So once you learn 1G and you learn 1E, this is where I keep hearing it. Because we keep saying plus is positive, positive, negative is negative, this is what students do. They get really good at this. Negative, positive. So your brothers and sisters or siblings who are older, they usually get this one right. Negative 3 times 4, and they're like, yep. Overall answer is negative because they're different signs. So it's negative, and 3 times 4 is 12. Then when they do addition, they think the same. They say, negative, positive. Answer's negative, and they say 3 plus 4 is 7, or 4 take away 3 is 1. They'll have a whole variety of answers, but all of it is wrong. Negative 3 plus 4, if you look at the number line, actually equals to 1, positive 1. Okay, so be careful with that confusion. Okay, 1 is multiplication, so if you try to understand the repeat addition I was doing, versus a number line, they're two very different things. Okay, same thing with this one. A lot of students go negative, negative, and they go, yep, 3 plus 4 is positive 7. Works over here, because negative, negative is positive, and they do 3 times 4 is 12. Yes. So your siblings will get this right, and they can get this one wrong. So they'll go negative 3 plus negative 4, they think it's 7. But if you think about the logic, you owe $3 and you gain another debt. How are you having positive money? It doesn't make sense. You owe $3 and you gain another $4 in debt. In total, you should have $7 in debt, logically. And maths is all about logic, not magic. And it's not something that you memorize. It's actually a lot to do with how do you apply it. So the way I'm explaining it, hopefully you're seeing the relevance to why we do it. Okay, otherwise, yeah, if you memorize it, there's a chance you'll fall into this category, make that mistake, and you'll get this one right. It's where most students will sit. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here because obviously I've gone on for half the session. I want the other half of the session is for you to work on fluency skills, see how far you can go. If you're just trying to understand and recall, then do fluency mainly. But if you can understand what I was explaining, I do want you to take some time, try to digest, make your own notes, because the better you understand it, then it makes more sense how you use it. Okay? I'll stop there, but thank you, team. And then I'll come around and help and answer questions. So give me a second. I'm going to